somebody had snuck on the base, and this particular aircraft we flew, when you climb up onto the wing, that's where all the fuel is. So you have these fuel access caps. And to pre-flight the aircraft in the morning, you would go up there and you'd take the cap off and you'd look inside and make sure that the fuel is topped off.
Oh, sure.
And there's a little basket, a wire basket that sits in there in case you bend over and a flashlight drops or something.
Okay.
You don't want it going into the fuel tank.
Yeah.
So I looked in the basket, and here is a hand grenade wrapped with rubber bands. The idea being that, and the pin was pulled, the idea being that we would take off and we'd be flying around for a couple hours, and the fuel would begin to work on the rubber band, and eventually it would destroy the rubber band, and the grenade would go off, and the wing would get blown right off the plane.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. So, scared the daylights out of me, though. I rolled right off the wing, down
Did you grab
down
the
on the
grenade,
tarmac.
or did you just get out of the way?
I just got off, and then let the other people take care of that.
Who?
The
Bomb squad or whatever?
Yeah, the equivalent in the military.
They go in there and with their like suit of armor or whatever.
It's not. It wasn't quite that. It wasn't quite.
What do you do with a grenade like that? How do you detonate something safely? Do you just throw it?
Well, the pin's already pulled, so.
What do you think they did to it?
Well, they would probably try to get it out so that the release, which you would normally be holding onto before you throw it, that the release was, of course, okay.
Right.
And of course, the timer doesn't start until you throw it.
And then how do you detonate it, though? Do you just put it in like a big, like, concrete shell or something and let it explode underneath that or something, or what?
I don't think they had anything like that. I don't recall them having anything like that. They would just kind of take it and throw it.
Just kind of throw it in the woods and let it blow
We
up?
weren't that concerned about those kinds of things. We just want to make sure we didn't do damage to our own people.
Sure.
Right.
Fly around all day and then fly back.
Right.
Go to sleep, get up, read the newspaper,
According
and then have a cup of coffee and then start spying again.
Yeah, that's kind of how you did it.
Did it get boring?
No, not at all. Because you could hear the radio traffic if one of our troops, one of the flights crashed and the pilot was alive. You could hear them, the North Vietnamese coming after him, the Viet Cong, and the guy'd say, "For God's sakes, come and rescue me." He's looking for a helicopter to come, and you can hear all this going on. I mean, it's like being in the middle of a movie.
You can hear the enemy coming.
You can hear him saying, "I'm on such and such a grid."
Yeah. But you weren't in charge of
No,
getting him.
we couldn't. They were looking for a helicopter to come in and pick him up.
And he was talking on his radio, like,
A little
"Hey,
walkie-talkie, yeah.
I'm down, but I'm okay. Please come get me."
He's running. He's evading them. You can.
Oh, he's running from them?
Yes. I mean, he's trying to hide. Just imagine if you crash an airplane. Of course, that's like somebody shooting up fireworks. You can clearly see where they went down, and so.
How many people survive an airplane crash?
The military airplanes are built extremely well.
Okay, so you survive an
These
airplane
were not
crash.
airplanes that most cases. Well, some of them ejected. Some were old style prop airplanes that you could just ride it out.
Okay, so I'll just take that for granted, and that these planes are tough, and you crash, but you crash land, and then it's
If you didn't evade, then you got put in the POW camp.
And that's what he was trying to run from.
Yes.
He didn't want to be a POW.
Correct.
Um,
They might decide to drag you through a village. They might decide to shoot you. Period.
well, they can do what they want to you.
Now we were all trained.
So did you radio in to get some help for the guy or whatever, or what?
No, if we could hear them, they could clearly be heard all over.
Did you ever hear a guy ask for help and just not get it?
Not if it could be helped. I mean, obviously everybody's trying to. If they couldn't get in there and help them, obviously they can't. But people did extraordinary things in most cases.
You mean they saved him? They would do their
But
whatever they could
not
do.
everybody got saved. Obviously, I mean it wasn't a perfect world.
But was there something like that happened every day, or were most days actually peaceful?
No. And there's a lot of action going on. Yeah, I mean it's
So most days,
a war.
most days you heard reports of death.
Yeah. Most days, people in the States heard reports of deaths. They were being reported every night on the nightly news how many casualties there were. After I moved to Minnesota, I was looking at the newspaper, a Sunday newspaper, and I was paging through the one ads, and I happened to see a quarter-page ad for the manager of the South Pole Station.
Just in the newspaper?
Yeah, just in the newspaper. And I said, this is it, man. And I tore that thing out. And they were looking for somebody very specific. They had to have 5 different criteria. And so I wrote a 6-page letter, 1 page for each of the criteria. So,
did you know anything about South Pole when you did this?
I had read a lot of books about Antarctica, but nothing to the point where I thought I'd feel comfortable actually living there. So I had to crack a few books and
but that
prepare
didn't
myself
deter
for
you?
the No, and I had to crack some books to prepare myself for the interview. So they flew me into Paramus, New Jersey, which is a suburb just across the river from New York City. That's where ITT Antarctic Services is based.
This was just based on your letter?
Yes, just based on the letter.
And they wanted to interview you?
They interviewed me, and I got a good feeling about it. I went back home, and 3 days later they called me and said, here's what we'd like to do. We want you to live in Paramus, New Jersey, in a motel for 6 months. And we'll have an office here for you.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to hire all the people that'll be on the crew.
Uh-huh.
And when I got there, of course I had to break this news to my wife and kids. I had 2 young daughters at the time, and there'd be nobody to take care of my wife and kids, but I had life insurance. I mean, it's not like you were going down there completely bare, but still, life insurance is not a substitute for a father. So, but it was exciting.
But you really wanted to do this?
I wanted to do this, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it felt like something you had to do.
It was a great
or
job,
try.
yeah, it's a great job. Totally isolated. There's no communication, period. The adventure part of it quickly is gone.
Yeah.
It's a job, and it's in a very remote place, and they want that to be very clear to people.
Let's look at some pictures.
Yeah.
I'll get rid of this thing. Here you are.
Yes, and this is in the galley, or the dining room area of the South Pole Station, which is not currently being used. They stopped using this in 2007, I believe.
And do you talk to any of these guys?
I hadn't talked to them in quite some time. I got divorced several years after I returned, and they had my old address, my old phone number.
All right.
And a lot of these people traveled to different jobs throughout the world, and it was very difficult to keep in touch with them. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, I did try to get in touch with them, and I was in touch with almost all of them except for one person, and I've never been able to find out what happened to him. But most of them are still alive, and
well, you are the best looking one.
alive and well, no, I mean it's not. I mean these people don't look like this normally. There's no reason to really groom. You don't get to take a shower every day because water. The only way you get water is by going out with a Caterpillar tractor and scooping up snow and putting it in a snow melter. You wait for it to melt. You try to purify it, and then you use that for cooking and drinking. What's left over you use for washing clothes or taking a shower. That you have the arrow on right there. He's the heavy equipment mechanic. He's a native-born Alaskan, and his job, his project for the year was to take a D8 Caterpillar tractor, which is a huge bulldozer, completely disassemble it, and
Like tires and all?
well, there's no tires. There's tracks.
Okay.
Yeah, disassemble it, completely fix it up, replace any parts needed, and put it all back together again. He was in a garage, and the warmest we could get the garage to was 60 below.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so, I mean, he did a phenomenal job.
Humpty Dumpty.
Now, over here, the guy to the left, that guy is the meteorologist. He was worked
guy?
for the U.S. Weather Service, and he had retired from the Weather Service to come down here. It's tough on families, and the cook we hired, which is the one with the funny-looking hat there.
This guy?
Yes. He graduated from the CIA, Culinary Institute of America, so he's a gourmet chef, and he would cook for us, and he really enjoyed it. I mean, occasionally it's tough if you're the only one cooking, and we tried to help him out on Sundays.
Do you remember interviewing all these people?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So going back to the one that was the meteorologist,
This guy?
each person, gets roughly